Hey everybody, welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. It is Tuesday, February 25th. Kevin Selly joined by Gordon Mack, longtime employee of FloTrack, but I got to add something to your title. APSE Award nominee Gordon Mack for your work on Running with the Boys, the NAU series. We've never given you a formal congratulations in this very formal podcast, Gordon, so take a bow.
Well, thank you, and if I'm being honest, I did not know what that was. Still kind of don't really know what it is. But apparently, AP, as in Associated Press.
Yep, and SE is in sports editors.
As in sports editors, so the subsection of AP who talk about sports. They liked the NAU series. They thought it was one of the top 10 projects of 2019.
Yep.
Which was pretty cool because I looked at the other people who were nominated in the top 10, and they're all like main sports type coverage.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see track get involved, get a little spot. I sent a text to Mike Smith, like, hey man, this series was nominated for the AP award. He was like, oh man. He was like, whoa. He was just surprised. He's like, because normally track doesn't get attention. And it's his team, and you know.
You are on a list with Bill Plaschke now. Like you
Bill
and
Plaschke.
him were on the same thing. LA Times great, Bill Plaschke. The New York Times is on that list. The Washington Post was on that list.
So that means I get my chance on Around the Horn, right? On ESPN?
You're on Wednesday, actually.
Wednesday? Okay.
Yes, this is.
I gotta get on a flight.
This is your last chance to prep before that. But that's very cool. Congrats to you guys. Jeremy obviously did a fantastic job.
If I had to do percentage of the pie, I was probably responsible for 5%, and then Jeremy Hayes was responsible for 95% because he was the editor and shooter and just like the brain behind it. I just showed up and asked questions.
Yeah, but again, takes a group there to get it going, and if people haven't seen it yet, strongly encourage. We don't do like a ton of plugs on this show, right? We mostly just talk about your crazy theories, and Lincoln tries and fails to come up with prop bets because he doesn't understand what those are. But I will plug this. This is good. Go if you haven't watched it yet.
Yes, it's very good.
5 parts. Go watch it. It's called NAU Running with the Boys. I mean, Mike seems, like you said, he's very excited about being on that APSC list. Does that mean that there's a sequel? He signed on immediately?
I mean, I hope so, but he's kind of doing his own sequel right now in a way with the track team indoors because...
Maybe you should have followed that.
I know. I'm like thinking like, man, we missed out a whole chapter on like this like redemption indoor tour where I truly think the reason they're running so well is because of that loss.
They're running out of anger.
I texted one of the athletes, and he says like how focused they all are because they're just like, we want to show that we have the talent. And I mean, top 3 times in the 3K, 5 guys in the top 16 in the 5K, 2 milers. You know, maybe they'll still do a DMR. It's insane. I mean, but yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm looking at these rankings for team-wise. The rest of the country is coming apart a little bit on the men's side for the team. So there's all these weird sort of things that are playing into NEU's advantage, or am I oversimplifying that? Because
so team rankings are based off of nothing that happened this past weekend. But
right, okay, but one of the teams preseason that was way high up there was Florida State, and they've had a couple of the guys that we thought were going to run not run.
Correct. Two of their main sprinters, Brian Richard, and Keyshawn James
haven't run.
Or Keyshawn James ran a 300 in like January, but hasn't run since.
Okay.
So he's clearly hurt.
LSU, I mean they're fine. They're good.
They're fine. The thing about LSU,
they can still win.
Yes. Yeah. We have them tied for winning. So
yeah.
LSU's still good. They need. I mean, anything can happen. LSU doesn't really have any true sprint stars. It's all just in jumps and hurdles.
Yeah.
So, and they don't have like a guaranteed tenor.
Right.
Because like you would think high jump, right?
Javon Harrison.
But there's a kid from Tennessee,
yeah.
Daryl Sullivan, I don't know, who jumped 233. So
yeah,
it's competition.
Well, they need Harrison to come through. They need Rayvon Gray. They need big points in the high hurdles there. Texas, they're at 35. Obviously, they've had horrible luck.
Yeah, so now their DMR's out of it, and also no miler
with
in
Sam
Worley, so that hurts them. Texas still, though, has a really good 200-meter runner and a really good 400-meter runner in Jones and Harris. They got a good shot putter, so that's going to be like their big 3 who are going to be the foundation. Like they're going to expect, at minimum, 26 points from those 3 guys.
Yeah.
Shot 200 and 400.
And then you go down to Georgia, which is projected at 28 points. So that's 7 fewer than Texas here. So there's all these, in addition to NAU running well, there's all these things that have been happening that have made it a greater likelihood that this team could actually pull this off.
And I think the likelihood is that NAU is now very likely to podium, like be based on this.
Sure,
I mean, it's going to take 30 points to podium, I think, and I think NAU can find 30 points with their 10, maybe 11 entries. And the question is, the way they would win is if they still have to have a great day, but they need some of these other teams just to beat each other up in the non-distance events. And really, the LSU, Texas, A&M, Georgia, Florida State.
They're not competing against NAU in anything, right?
They are huge Joe Clucker and Edward Kurgat fans.
Right.
Because Klecker and Kurgat are both in the 3 and the 5, and that's basically the only two true people NAU breaker-uppers, because you can see them going 1-2 in both the 3 and the 5, and that hurts NAU.
Yeah.
But you also see NAU breaking them up. Maybe they go 1-3 or 2-4, and that'll be huge for NAU's chances to get as many points as possible. So
it's indoors, man. The margins are so small, and this year in particular. I mean, if it really only takes 37 points to win, then maybe there's another team out there that could factor
North Carolina A&T has a bunch of guys. Iowa State is also a weird, they're kind of like the Wisconsin of last year, where they have a star in Edwin Kurgat. Edwin Kurgat could get 20 points. Mm-hmm. Then they have Festus Legat, and they have a good DMR, and they have 2 800-meter guys. And they have one thrower. So they could put together some points to kind of sneak into podium position.
They get to 30.
They can get to 30, yeah. NAU, though, is becoming more relevant because of the numbers. It's, and they have, Andy Truard won the 3K 2 years ago. No one saw that happening.
No, that was an upset.
It was an upset.
Yeah.
And, I was coached by Mike Smith. Louis Grijalva, we think of him as the 50th best runner because that's what he finished at cross, or 50 or 60. But Louis Grijalva, maybe this is his chance to finally have, show who he is, because we thought Louis Grijalva was going to be a top 10 guy at cross. He was running all season long like a top 10 guy, and then had one bad race. And you can't just wipe away, his talent off of one bad race. Now he can come out here and get 8th and then kind of keeps that narrative going. But if he comes out here and finishes the top 3 in both the 3 and the 5, then we'd be like, why didn't we? This was right in front of our eyes the entire time. They had the American Collegiate record holder. They had Louis Grijalva. They had Jordy Beamish, the defending mile champion. And
I'm reminded of a scene, to plug the Running with the Boys doc again. The very first episode.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this
where
too.
He's talking to Mike Smith, and he's saying, I don't want to just be an ordinary runner in the NCAA. And again, maybe they've been catalyzed by their second place finish against BYU, where literally, it's one thing. Now, BYU ran great that day, not taking anything away from BYU, but there were key underperformances by NAU runners because you look at who finished in front of them. And I know it's cross, it's crazy. Yeah. Someone's going to have a good day, someone's going to have a bad day, but Beamish should not have finished as far back as he did. Grijalva should not have finished as far back as he did. Nur and Bosley ran great, and those were 2 newcomers this year.
You kind of expect, that's Drew, Brody. He
was solid. It was fine.
Solid. You expect him not to be their 5th or 6th man. So
Theo Quacks obviously did not have a good race. Blaze was hurt that whole year, as people saw from the doc, or will see from the doc. But those 2 guys, those main guys, Beamish and Grijalva, I think if that doesn't motivate you, nothing will. Because it's one thing to say, hey, I don't want it to be just any ordinary guy in the NCAA. It's another thing to have what happened to you happen to you. And look, a lot of people have had that experience, right? Famously, Jenny Simpson, then Jenny Behringer had the most high-profile disappointment at that stage. Solinsky as well. So he's got, if he wants to take that next step, got to show it when it counts, and he's got to do it in Albuquerque. And if he does do it, they could win the whole thing.
Yeah.
So how's that for motivation? And then you get Tyler Day back too, which is a nice bonus, who wasn't there in the fall.
Yeah, and Tyler's like, I get another title.
He stumbled into this one.
He gets his 4-peat, right? In a way, he gets all
him
4 seasons.
Him and Jordy get the 4 rings.
Yeah. Does it count as a 4-peat in their minds?
I just would say that'd be awesome to get 4 rings. Do you think, I know this is a favorite question of yours, so I will ask it to you so you can answer it. Do you think the other programs are aware of NAU?
Yes, I think they weren't. I was aware from them in December.
Of course.
But I think the other programs weren't because a lot of these other big schools only look at the USTFCCA coaches rating thing, not coaches or computer rating thing.
Yeah.
And they kind of rely on that as their litmus test. So they're not looking at the preseason 15th or 22nd ranked team, which is what NAU was. You know, they're only looking at the top 10 to see like points. But now that the computers now rank NAU number 1, they're probably like, wait, NAU, where is that? Wait, why are they number 1? They don't. What sprinters do they have? Are they like? They're like are they a bunch of throwers? Like they're probably like looking, like scrolling, like where are these guys?
Yeah.
And then they look and they see, okay, it's in the distance, and they all get flashbacks of like, Oregon did this to us for many years behind Cheserek and Jenkins and Gohegan and Stinson and all these guys. Like, Oregon scored 70 points in the distance events alone. You know, and it's possible to a team just to be like, we only need 3 events, and we will. We don't need 18 events. We only need 3. We don't need a 4x4. We don't need jumps. Yeah, but the thing about like,
well, LSU is only going to do it on 3 events too, right? 3 or 4: high jump, long jump, hurdles.
But it's the socially acceptable 3 events. You're right.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting the way
it's going to piss off these teams, because the team who gets 5th is going to be like, really, or team gets 2nd, they're going to be so mad.
That it was distance and they never even saw him coming.
Yeah.
I mean, but at least for NAU in a way. I guess if you're one of the people who thinks indoor track is a team sport, of which I am not one, except for the relays, then it's a team sport. But I think the whole concept of the team score is kind of ridiculous in track.
I agree with you.
It's particularly ridiculous, I think, in indoor track.
Why do you have a team sport for an event that you individually qualify for?
It's a compilation of individuals. I think you do it because NCAA wants to keep things. It's the same thing in high school, right? Well, if this is what the football team does, and this is what every team has, and we need to keep standings, so it's ridiculous.
I mean, they should just, if you want a team sport, you only bring the top 12 teams. And they have a conference style type meet.
Right.
That would be a team.
However, if you're going to make the argument of rah team, at least if NAU does do it, it's not just going to be like like Morgan McDonald and Oliver Hoare, and that's it, right? It's going to be, I think they're going to need to get points from Day, they're going to need to get points from Gahalva, they're going to need to get points from Beamish, and they're going to need a little smattering here, a sprinkle of a Nur.
Or Ryan Raff, or Theo Quacks getting in the mile.
So then if you're talking, 5, 6, I mean, Arkansas men won the title, one of the John McDonald titles, I believe, with 3 people. Yeah. So 5 that's a big bench.
And the cool thing is, it's literally going to be their almost practically speaking, their starting cross-country team.
Yeah.
Because the 2 people who aren't there are redshirting.
Yeah.
Drew Bosley and Brody Hasty.
How bad is Bosley trying to rip off the red shirt?
I know, right?
Like, how much does he want a piece of this?
It's so crazy because we think about, like, if Bosley was their number 1 guy, where would he be right now? And would he have been able to run a 5K fast enough?
Well, I think part of him being the number 1 guy was those Beamish and Grijalva having bad races too.
True.
But I mean, it would be fun to see what his 5,000 time is. I mean, imagine healthy Blaze Farrow.
Yeah.
Right? Like in there. They're taking advantage.
It's kind of cool though. It's literally their cross-country program.
Well,
it's not like a random high jumper also in the mix. Like, they don't have like the token non-distance runner. They literally, it's only distance.
Would you describe this year's distance on the men's side, at least I mean, I know the 3K is nuts and it's very deep, but in the 5,000 and the mile, would you describe it as weaker than normal?
No.
It's the same?
I think it's the same. I mean, Oliver Hoare is good. The DMR with Nagoose, that's good. Like, Kurgat ran 13:20 something. Klecker's good. You know, like.
But I'm saying the 1 through 8 depth. Obviously, it's great in the 3,000.
I think 1 through 4, it's legit.
Yeah.
I think 5 through 8, it's not. I'll agree with you there.
Well, I'm just saying.
Like, Cooper Tier's elevated, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and credit to them. That's the whole point of sports. Capitalize on your opportunities, and I think that's what they're doing, in addition to the fact that some of the sprint and jump schools are really just spreading out the points, right? There's no one dominant sprint school. Georgia's on there with 28 points. I believe, I haven't dug into the rankings, 24 of those are from the HEP, right? You have them going 10-8-6?
So, I think so, yeah. I mean, that's the school where that's what that happens.
Well, right. I know. I'm just saying it's just a proxy war, man. It's your jumpers versus my distance runners versus their throwers versus, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You mentioned, though, a team like North Carolina A&T could sneak in there, but Trevor Stewart not yet qualified.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about.
You got this article here, 61.
Yeah, check out the site. It's on the site now.
Yeah, now we're doing only plugs on this podcast.
Only plug-in site content. There are 61 athletes, more than 61 events, but 61 athletes who are not currently in the top 16, who were top 8 in either indoor or outdoor last year. So they're returning All-Americans, track and field only All-Americans, and 61 of them aren't in the top 16. Now, a lot of this percentage are people who are either hurt or redshirting.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make the number as big.
Do you want to go one by one?
Yeah, well, let's...
No, it's all 61. We got time.
Well, we can go through
Rainshirt we talked about. Sean James we talked about. So that's huge for Florida State, right?
Two Florida State guys. They went 5'6" last year in the 60, and now they both have no marks.
5'8". 5'8".
Oh, 5'8".
And also, James in the 200 was second.
Yeah.
So you're knocking out three opportunities to score. Wasim Williams, Purdue, 4th outdoors in the 100. Joseph Amoa ran a fast 200 this year.
Yeah.
But we
No
haven't seen
fast 60. I mean, he was 8th in the 100 last year outdoors, which is a hard final to make. And he's currently ranked 56th in the 60. So I think that could be
conference meet?
I think he's more of a 100, 200 guy.
Yeah.
More of a 200 guy, dropping down to 100, than being able to get to the 60.
Trevor Stewart, that's big.
That's big. You're a 44.25 400-meter runner. You were runner-up outdoors, and you currently are ranked 18th. And Trevor Stewart might not make the meet. You know why? Because his conference meet is on a flat 200-meter track. It's in Landover, Maryland.
Ooh.
MEAC conference. He's not going to be able to run that fast. I mean, he's going to get some conversion out of it.
Got to get that conversion.
But, like,
What's
how does someone like Trevor Stewart not be in the top 16?
I mean, is he fully healthy? I mean,
he's running often.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe he's just not going to run the 400 indoors.
Yeah.
You know, but...
Okay, Chance Sawyers, Florida.
I think he's redshirting. He was 7th.
outdoors.
So that hurts Florida. Now, there's a lot in the mile, the men's mile.
Casey Comer, Sam Worley, Charlie Hunter, Yard Nagoose, Cameron Griffin, Casey Nevillebard, and Jack Antsey. So Comer was 2nd last year indoors in that race against Beamish. We know Worley broke his leg. Nagoose, I'm guessing, is going to run the mile in the DMR. Griffin looked good in the fall, run those open cross-country races.
I mean, they're probably just going to keep him in the DMR and the 3K. That's probably what he's going to end up doing because he's a 3K mark. One thing that's interesting, if you notice, so Charlie Hunter, Oregon, and
Oregon's got a lot of milers.
Washington and Oregon have a lot of milers who have broken 4 or run 4 flat who are currently ranked in the top 16. It's like combined together, there's like 5 to 6 of them. Like you have Stanisvec, Charlie Hunter,
James West?
James West is ranked. This is a bunch. There's the
you're talking about unranked.
Yeah, they have a bunch of guys. I can't name them off the top of my head, but it's like 5 or 6 359 guys who are not currently in the top 16. I believe they all are going to be running at BU in a paced effort to try to qualify, and I think that's going to be huge because I think they're not trusting MPSF's pacing or like that style, and they're just going to go to fly. Some of Oregon and Washington athletes are skipping MPSF, going to BU, the time trial.
That's the keeping up with the Joneses, man. That's what you got to do.
That's like ultimate though. Like you skip your own conference meet. It's a fake conference.
I mean, if it was a Big Ten or SEC situation,
Pac-12
obviously different.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the 3,000. Connor Mans hurt. Robert Brandt got hurt at end of cross.
Yeah,
I'm assuming he's still hurt. Ratcliffe.
He's only run 4 flat. But he ran 4 flat his season opener in January. Hasn't run since.
So he's someone where, like, when I'm talking about, I guess he can make the 3K better, but obviously the 5K, right? He's a guy who he could have slotted in there fine. Eamon Kemboy in the 5,000, Ben Veach in the 5,000, Brandt, Radcliffe, Mance, again in the 5,000, and then Kyle Mao. I'm a little surprised about Kyle Mao.
Yeah, but Kyle Mao he's ranked 17th right now in the 5,000, but I think he was more going to be doing the mile DMR 3K routine, so, but he was 8th in the 5K outdoors last year, so.
Yeah. Then we go to the field events, a couple high jumpers here. Jordan Westner, Mason Connor, Sean Lee, Frank Harris, then some shot putters. Jordan Geist on there.
Yeah, I think he's redshirting.
Okay. Hold on. You don't want to talk heptathlon here? We have a Houston Baptist heptathlete now? Okay.
Let's go to the women's sprints.
Okay, so Angie Nellis is probably redshirting.
Yes.
She's a 60 and 200 meter threat. You have her just listed in the 60 and not in the 200, even though she was the NCAA champion in the 200. Oh, does she have a 200 meter mark? She doesn't have a 200 meter mark, does she? Angie Nellis?
I think it's a typo.
Okay.
I screwed that up.
Oh, that should be, we should have that in the 200. Although she could have.
I think I just like
This podcast is all about
I
proofreading
deleted
your
her
content.
by accident. Yeah.
Well, it
Sorry.
just shows how strong of a favorite USC was coming into the year, that someone like her could be on the bench and they're still fine.
I think the ones that really surprised me here is 2 to 3 top 4 people from outdoor. So Chloe Abbott,
in the
second
400.
in the 400. She's currently 22nd in the 400 right now.
Right.
Kathleen Campbell, I think she's redshirting, but moved to the 800. Avi Wilson Pertiti, she was 3rd in the 800, and now she's ranked 41st.
Yeah.
How does that happen? How does someone who's like a 2-flat 201 woman can get 3rd in the outdoor 800, and then you come back and you are 41st in the country?
Yeah. Good question.
There's something about the 800, man.
Is it the 800 and the 400 too?
Yeah.
With Stewart. Rainsberger in the mile, Feeney in the mile, McClintock, Werner, obviously he's redshirting in the 3000. Burke, I think, is out of eligibility. Gregory, I'm assuming, is redshirting. We haven't seen her at all. And she was hurt at the end of last year too, right? So that's the reason why you don't see her. Gatahi, Danny Jones. So Danny Jones, you think, is going to run
She'll probably run a 3K at MPSF.
and then be qualified for literally everything.
Yes. She'll have an 800, a mile, a 3K, a 5K, and a DMR.
Who's
She'll be qualified in 5 events.
That's Grant Holloway-ish.
Yeah.
Has anybody qualified in that many events before? I mean, Grant had it in the, I guess you count the relay.
But Grant had 60-60.
He had 200 time too, right? Did that qualify him or no?
He had long jump. He had 4x4. Did he have the 200 time?
I know he ran.
He might have. So Danny Jones is the Grant Holloway. Is Grant Holloway.
I mean, she needs to be able to run as many events. Let me see if I can.
I think, yeah. I mean, this is the bad order to figure it out.
Well, I just remember he ran didn't he run an early season?
Yeah, he ran a 200.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would have qualified him.
20.69?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would've
20.69.
That would
So,
have qualified him.
No, I mean, they both have one relay in the 4 individual
Yeah.
events. Let's stretch the meet out to like 6-7 days so Danny Jones can run everything. I'm for that. Gosh, and then Monson not in the 5,000.
Yeah.
Is surprising.
I mean, you'd guess maybe she's doing that Big Tens, but
That's
maybe
what.
she wants to skip the 5 and be a DMR runner. DMR anchor.
I don't know. I don't know. I think she could win the 5. Why would you not do the 5?
She's scared of Izzo.
I don't think. I think the DMR is going to be the DMR is going to be tough when
Yeah.
you're running a mile against BYU
But why do you?
and Stanford
Or maybe she.
and Washington.
Maybe this.
I think I know the answer.
Maybe she says, "I'm gonna run a 3K fresh."
That I could get behind because I want the 3K to be the 3K to end all 3Ks.
She's like, "I'm gonna go up against everyone who ran hard 24 hours. I went out there and jogged, and that's gonna be her advantage to try to win the 3K because she won the 5K last year, right?"
And then 3K fell apart
And it
because
fell
it's
apart
hard.
in
It's
3,
hard,
yeah.
but you come in and you get a title. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of another Wisconsin runner who had to get their qualifier at the
Morgan
Big Ten.
McDonald.
Just don't ruin the punchline, man. You know people at Wisconsin. Get on your phone.
I
Figure
did.
out what's going on.
I asked.
Oh, are you going to report something?
Well, I'm not reporting.
You're not. Is this reportable?
This
Okay.
is not reportable. But I think there's a chance Oliver O'Hara still tries to get his 3K qualifier.
Okay, we're asking about Monson, though. I mean, that's great that they're trying to.
They're
we're not-
worried. But the thing about that they're thinking about is Wisconsin's currently ranked 10th in the DMR, and they're worried that they might get bumped out because they see like an Oregon might run a fast DMR at MPSF, and then they are worried about New Mexico's going to run a DMR. So that's 2, and then they're like, all right, there might be a 3rd somewhere.
Okay, but what did they tell you anything about Monson or no? We don't know.
I didn't follow up about the 5K. I just assumed she had it. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So we're not reporting because
We're not
you're
reporting.
reporting. You didn't actually ask the question.
I
That's all.
asked the wrong question.
No, that's
I'm sorry.
fine.
I was
That's
in the
fine.
moment.
Okay, so you're talking about Wisconsin men's. Okay, Wisconsin's men's DMR is relevant if they put Hoare at the anchor leg, though. Would they put them at the anchor, or would they?
So that's the thing. Maybe Wisconsin's like, maybe Ollie's like, I don't want to do the mile. I want to second crack at, like maybe Oliver Hoare scratches the mile.
Oh, he does a Goose?
And then he does DMR 3K. He pulls a Goose. Because I'm sure Hoare looks at the race that they just had. And I'm
Okay.
sure the coaches look at it and be like, we can beat them.
Yeah. I just think if given the 2 choices, this meet is, again, the timetable is so truncated, you have to make these hard choices. I think if the choice is winning an individual event versus winning with your team, a college kid and a coach is always going to pick the team.
Yeah.
Even though the prestige or whatever and the
And
contracts.
they did that with Fisher. Fisher was like,
It's all about
he
the
could have
team.
won the 5K every year, but he was like, I'm going to do the DMR anchor.
Yeah. I don't know if he could have won it every year,
But you know what I mean.
yeah, he had a chance. Yeah, that's like the allure of it is too strong to pass up. Now, let's look at this through the NAU prism. Because again, Running with the Boys, episode 5, streaming now on FloTrack. Well, no, I mean, puts him in the 3K, though. If Horde goes in the 3K,
that hurts him. Yeah.
that hurts them there. But taking him out of the mile, and then Nagus is not in the mile, Beamish is like, got a free run now,
Yeah,
right?
and helps Theo potentially. Because if Theo Quacks makes the mile,
Yeah.
like, there's a chance he could, like, get third. You know how the mile is. Like, he's not going to win.
Yeah.
But, like, if it's a sit and kick and you're just in the right position, you can sneak in and get 5th or 4th, you know, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that 5th or 4th can make up for what Beamish won't be able to do in a 3K, you know.
Yeah. Well, Beamish isn't going to run the 3K, is he?
Yeah, he's qualified. He's the 3rd-ranked guy. He's the 2nd-ranked guy in the 3K.
Okay, so he's going to go...
He's going to do mile 3K.
Oh, sorry, I was confused. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I was confusing him.
The 5K.
Well, no, I was thinking he's DMR and all that stuff. Okay, so... I mean, I kind of like that move more. How about this? How many people get eliminated in the prelims of the mile?
You ready? 6.
6. Because we go from 16 to 10.
Yeah.
How about we just go 12 and we go straight final? Can we negotiate on that? So then
I think we can work that out.
So then we could get, and we run it on the second day, so then you could get Nagus in the mile. You could get everybody in the mile, like more people in the mile.
Well, that's how we get everyone in the 3K, because it's the last event. It's the same, yeah. But then we get everyone in the mile now. Yeah.
Or I think they would do both. Like, wouldn't they just do both? Like the milers they would go DMR,
and then mile.
then the mile, and then because they would say screw it.
YOLO.
Yeah. Well, my best event's behind me.
Yeah.
I'll run the 3K, see what happens.
Yeah.
As opposed to running a prelim and wearing yourself out. Link and I were talking about that yesterday. I don't know if you listened to yesterday's show. It's just
it is ridiculous that we have a mile prelim to go from 16 to.
And also, it does take a toll on when you're adding up races in that short period of time, I think. So that's interesting about Oliver Hoare. That's a big I mean, everybody has decisions here, right? Like, if you're running anything in the mid-distance, like, you have choices. It's like...
Like Cooper Tier, is he going to try to run a 5K qualifier this weekend and then not run the DMR and then try to be in the 5K? Because for Oregon, they're going to be like, hey, Tier could be top 3 in the 5, and then, you know, and they can bank on Charlie Hunter and James West to be the 2 pillars of their DMR.
Well, this women's 5, going back to what we were talking about before, it's missing a lot of All-Americans there. Monson, O'Keefe, Prowse, Werner, Katahi, and Steelman. But, no, I mean, think about it this way, too, bouncing back again to your point. Like, top 800-meter runners, right? I know the 800 is not as valuable on the DMR as the mile, but someone like Carly Thomas from UW, right? Is she going to run the 800 leg in the UW DMR? I mean, I would assume yes, right? But it's like, then she's running 3 800s over the course of 24 hours. That's not easy to do, right? I mean, I would assume they would do that. But also, like, what's the replacement value for, okay, what is she, 2.0, what did she run this year?
201, 202?
Yeah. I guess there is a pretty big replacement value for her, right?
Yeah, because she's going to be going against like 208 girls.
Yeah, so she can get, I'm assuming, Rainsberger a lead.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like in a normal scenario where it's like, okay, she maybe gets us a second or two.
Yeah.
Versus, okay, let's rest her and not have her.
I mean, it's the reason why a lot of these DMR teams that have extremely fast 400-meter runners, they still, instead of running their 45 guy, they run their 47 guy.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, you know, you always think like, why doesn't Alabama did it once where they put Karani James on like their
That's awesome.
on their DMR, and it was fun because you're like, okay, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like a lot of these teams, they're like Texas wouldn't run Jonathan Jones on the DMR.
Yeah, don't put another race in there. Like, for anybody who underrates the impact of prelims, look at how different results are between a Diamond League setting and a championship setting, and that's with. I mean, in the distance races, there's usually some time off, right? Not all of them, but like. Depending on if you're talking about U.S. championships or world
championships.
Especially
in the 800, 3 rounds. I mean, you see stars getting booted out in that second round.
That's because it's totally different. So even running one race, even if like in the women's race, you cruise through and you run like a 206 or something, like it still matters. It still adds up by the end. by that last event, that 3K, you see people just completely falling
And it's
apart.
just a lot of coaches' decisions, right?
Yeah.
You're deciding what's the most important: maximizing points, maximizing opportunity to win, or leaning in on favoriting of a team of like the DMR.
And that's where, if I was a distance coach, I would always default to that. Between if it was like a choice between if I had a miler, and I said this yesterday with Lincoln, like that's why I like what Notre Dame did. They have an identity. This is what we're going to do. We're going to try to win the DMR. And maybe when Nagoose moves on, they choose a different strategy. Like, but right now with Nagoose, this is like what they do, and they stick to it. And it's what they got second 2 years ago, and then they won last year. It pays off. Now, if it's someone like Fisher, where it's like, okay, but he's a 5,000 meter run. Like Fisher's not a miler.
Yeah,
That
you can run. You can.
Sure, but that would be a harder decision. That would be a situation where I would think you'd have to look at it and think, okay, well, what's going to get us the 10 points? But in terms of, okay, this person's either going to run a mile and 4 people are going to get rings, or they're going to run a mile and 1 person's going to get rings. You're going to always choose the 4, right?
Not always.
I mean, I would. As a coach, I would.
Okay, you're a good guy.
Well, I think rising tide lifts all boats. I just think it's a cooler, like, it's less impactful, I get, in terms of like earning power for that athlete.
But like think
later.
about like a team like Oregon when there was a time when like they didn't run like Chez's freshman year. They would rather have Chez in the 5K than Chez anchor their DMR. They would have won the DMR, but they decided to get second or third in the DMR.
Yeah.
And have Chez win the 5K. That's
a special case. I think that's a special case. Chez was so extraordinary, and Oregon was also so deep. I'm talking about like a Wisconsin or a Notre Dame
teams
situation.
That aren't really involved with points. Yeah.
Well, and also like you take Nagoose out of that DMR, where do they finish?
They don't finish anywhere. They don't even qualify.
You take Oliver Hoare out of that DMR. Like I'm talking, yeah. And then likewise, you put those guys in the open mile, they're going to contend for the national title. Yeah. Same thing on the women's side of things. Orton, Jones, people like that, maybe Lawson or Donahue, right? Like, they hold the entire race in the balance.
So you say that, then why do you think Danny Jones is going to run the mile, not the DMR?
Well, not everybody agrees with my philosophy.
Oh, okay. You think Wetmore's like?
I think there's a big enough crack between the top teams in Colorado that she would really have to work to do it, and it's not guaranteed. Whereas like Wisconsin men and Notre Dame men, I feel like they'll be in the mix, right? Yeah. Like they're going to get the stick. It's not going to be like New Mexico was a couple years ago. Remember where they were out of it?
Yeah.
Josh Kerr got the stick, and it was just like zoom.
Yep.
Off and on, off and on, off and on. Okay, and then they're like, it's not going to work.
Yeah. It would be interesting though if Oliver Hoare scratches the mile. That would be really wild. Just seeing like a fresh Wisconsin versus fresh Notre Dame.
I mean, would you rather have a couple of events that are 7.5s, or would you rather have an event be like a 2 and then another event be a 10?
Oh,
That's
actually a good question. What is better?
To me, I'd rather have 10s, a couple 10s, even if it means there's some zeros out there.
Really?
Because you want to at least say, okay, definitively, because in 5 or 2 or whatever years, you can at least point back to like that.
So I
race.
guess it's like being a football fan. You'd rather, in a 5-year span, win the Super Bowl once and not make the playoffs the other 4 years, than make the playoffs every year and get knocked out in the second round.
Yeah, or it's like when you're watching games on TV. Would you rather have there be one buzzer beater that's super exciting and then another blowout, or would you rather have 2 9-point games? Like, you'd rather have the one, at least, memory that you can kind of carry. Like, that's why I want this women's 3K. I have a lot of
circling back.
I have a lot of exciting. Well, no, I mean, you could have a legitimately ridiculous 3K.
Yeah.
I mean, the times are going to be whatever. I mean, it's at altitude. Who cares? But like the names that are involved in that are going to be awesome, and I think that there'll be names that, in a few years, we're still talking about. And maybe something can happen on the men's side of things.
I think the addition of Nagoose in the 3K makes it exciting.
For the men, okay, so this could be the men's 3,000.
It's going to be.
Nagoose.
Nagoose.
Hoare, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Klecker, Kurgat.
Hold on. I want to do this one by one on my fingers. People listening can't see it. Klecker, Kurgat, the 3 NAUs. Who am I missing?
So we're at 7 people right now?
Yeah. Who am I missing? Let me get on T first.
There's someone, Cooper Tier.
Cooper Tier is 8. Like, who's box office, basically, is what I want to know.
I mean, that's a good top 8. That's a hard All-American team to make. You know?
Another, maybe James West.
James West.
Peter Sufer. So you get a little cross-country action there.
You got the Kyrian kid from Harvard.
Kieran Tuntavate.
Tuntavate.
Sprinkle Alex Osberg in there.
Cameron Griffith, who's third in the 1500 outdoors, so he has a kick.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be wild.
But there's that 7 there, and throw into the mix. Okay. 3K. Second to last event. Am I right?
Yeah, it's right before the 4x4.
Will there still be field events going on at that time? I forget how
Maybe there
indoors.
might be one, like a triple jump.
Okay, 4x4. So does LSU have a 4x4?
Yeah, but it's not that good.
Okay. So
which makes it exciting because it might be like
3K, the meet's on the line, and it's like, man, can Colorado and Iowa State stop NAU from winning a title?
I think there's a chance. There's going to be a chance that if everything goes well, the way it's going to play out is NAU will have like a 5-point lead going into the 4x4.
Right.
And they're going to need LSU not to finish in the top 3. That's what's going to happen.
If you are Colorado and Iowa State, do you find kinship in NAU going for the title as a distance-based program because you're a distance-based program too? Or are you like, I don't want them doing that.
No.
I want to be the team that eventually does that.
Yeah, no one ever is like, there's never like, oh, we're both in the NFC. Let's kumbaya.
So if you gave someone on those two teams like truth serum and you said one of the two teams has to win this meet overall, and it has nothing to do with your athletes specifically, like you take that out of it, like just in this magical formula, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean Klecker's going to lose or Kruger's lose, but it's like you could have either LSU win or NAU win. You think they would all choose LSU?
Oh,
just because they see NAU as like a distance-based rival, or are they going to be like, oh, that's cool, that'll show a path forward, and then maybe in 5 or 10 years we can do the same thing?
I think if you ask anyone currently enrolled in the school, they would say LSU. But I think anyone outside, like if you were to ask Ben Sorrell, you would probably rather see NAU win.
Just because you're not in the heat of the moment?
He's like separated from like, I know, like there's no like, oh no, like
I don't like that
care,
guy.
You don't care about them. You don't need them to lose anymore. Like,
Well, I'm just saying. So you told Colorado, you said, look, Klecker's going to win the 3 and the 5, right? So that's guaranteed.
Yeah.
But then also this other thing is going to happen, and it's either going to be LSU or NAU. They'd say LSU.
I think
if they're currently on the staff. These are important questions.
I honestly think their answer is like, I don't care.
You think so?
I don't think they care.
Well, no, that's a bad example. How about Iowa State? If you texted your friends at Iowa State right now, and you said Kurgat wins the 3 and the 5.
Or if that's Wisconsin. That'll be a good.
Yeah, when you ask Wisconsin.
Because they're not in the hunt, right?
But they're not like a pure.
I guess they have some.
They have some non-distance people, so they could forge a path. And they've done it before, right?
Oh, here. What do you think Ed Eidestone wants to happen? If he's watching the 4x4, right?
Yeah.
And he knows LSU needs to get top 3 in order to win. If they don't, NAU wins the meet. What do you think Ed Eidestone is cheering for?
That's good. I think Ed Eidestone has enough appreciation for history, and I think he has enough camaraderie with like the whole distance thing.
He'll cheer for.
I think he would think it's cool
the NAU one,
that a distance and I think he would think it's a novel concept.
Because BYU was trying to podium on their steeple 10K, 5K.
Well, it shows like that it's possible. Would there be a little bit of like, oh man, that could have been us to it? Sure. But also, I mean, they got their title this year. And it's not like, oh, this is going to be a boom for NAU's recruiting. They already got Nico. They're already doing fine. It's just adding another title to it. I think he would appreciate it. Speculating, not reporting that. I don't know for sure. But I think just because he's been around the sport so long, he would see that as a positive. Here's
the ultimate question.
Okay. I'm ready for the ultimate question. How long are we in? Oh, 39 minutes. Okay, good.
Here's the ultimate question. It's the 3K, right?
Yeah.
And NAU's in position to win the team. But in order for them to do that, they need to beat Cooper Tier in this 3K and hurt Oregon's chances of podiuming. What side of the fence is Galen Rupp on?
Depends how he runs in Atlanta.
Assuming he wins Atlanta.
You're talking about because he has a loyalty now somehow to Mike Smith.
Yeah.
No, I think he's all in for Oregon.
Really?
Yes.
You don't think he would want his new coach, his like distance athletes to like do something cool?
No.
You think he would rather see Cooper Tier do
Or-
well than see his coach's young athletes do well?
Yeah, he's doing Tai Chi now, man. I read that article. He's all zen. He's calm. He's rooting for his guys.
How do you think that makes Mike Smith feel?
Do you think... I think it's a separate relationship. Do you think, has Galen Rupp met any of those guys? Does he know any of them?
No, but
Has he gone
they
to
have
White
the same
Castle
coach.
with Theo Quacks?
They're like step runners. Right? They're step training partners.
Did they just become best friends?
Yeah. I mean, in a way, they share the same coach. They, like.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, what the relationship is primarily email based, right? And phone calls. Like he's not going to Flagstaff a bunch.
Coach is a coach, man.
It is, and Mike Smith is a very skilled coach.
Or do you think Galen Rupp is taking all of Mike Smith's secrets and secretly giving them to Coach Thomas at Oregon, who then is now translating it to Cooper Tier so he can beat them?
I don't think.
Big conspiracy. It's
I don't
happening.
think he's involved because the coaches have changed there. I don't think he's that involved in any of this, to be honest. And I don't even know if he knows that there's going to be a meet in. If you ask Galen Rupp where indoors, he's not at the press conference. Yeah. If he was, I would ask him. I'd say, "Where's NCAA indoors this year?"
He does not know.
Name 3 people on the Oregon team. I think he might struggle for that.
I think you could name.
No, I'm just kidding. He knew.
Could he name 3 people on the Oregon team?
I mean, I think he'd know.
I don't think you could name one after that.
Really? You don't think he's on like Chiefers, like refreshing the list or GoDucks.com?
No.
No?
I mean, because their name is like super.
Yeah, I mean
loud.
James West has been around for a while.
But James West.
I'm a big James. Yeah, well, I'm a big James West fan because he got thrown out of that meet.
That's a big. What do you think the
Redemption.
money line is on him false starting?
Dude, well, he got robbed, man. And I say this with all seriousness. That was ridiculous at prelims last year. I'm glad he had an extra, season of eligibility. I guess he's out of outdoors, right? So this is it.
I don't know.
Him.
He might have outdoors.
He should win the Bowerman.
Yeah.
No, legitimately, they should give him the Bowerman for putting him through that. That was ridiculous. Yeah. Oregon had a right to be upset in that one. So I'm glad he has. He has really fast times.
I know, it's 3:35 guys.
The previous year, because I commentated this meet last year at West Prelim, and the setup to that whole false start thing was the year before he came in with a super fast PR and didn't get out of Sacramento.
Yeah.
And so I was setting it all up to do this thing, and then all of a sudden, wait, hold on, his false started? What? That was a big time bummer. So he's probably as or more motivated than those NAU guys for this indoor season. And I think a lot of it comes down to I don't think this is an oversimplification, how much you want to put into indoors, distance running especially, because you just had this really emotionally draining cross country season. You're going to get right back out at it again outdoors. How much do you really want to turn the faucet for these couple months? We should talk about, though, now that we have you here as an APSC nominated producer, we should talk about what could potentially be the greatest indoor 5K of all time.
I was listening to the pod yesterday.
Trademarked by you.
Hey, I get the entries. I gotta make a banner. I gotta tell people who's running in this meet. I'm like, oh, this 5K is pretty cool. Oh man, there's some big names in this 5K, and I think of typically indoor 5Ks aren't good because the top people don't run the 5K.
Yep.
So then I just was like, it's the greatest 5K ever.
You've written way worse banners, so I was for it. Lincoln was way more upset than I was.
I think it's the greatest 5K on U.S. soil ever. I'm willing to go.
I don't think. No, don't equivocate. Don't.
It's the greatest indoor 5K on U.S. soil.
No, just say.
It's the greatest BU 5K.
It's not on soil. It's on a track. Just say it's the greatest 5K of all time. Stick with it. Defend your take.
Watch, it's going to be 3 guys break 13, and we'll be like, oh my God.
Well, that's the thing. How do you judge? You judge the race by, and we do this all the time with marathons, right?
After the fact.
Yeah, London Marathon famously has been the greatest marathon of all time, the last 7 editions of the London Marathon. Yeah. But if you judge it based on entries, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good 5K. I mean, when you look at it, men's and women's too, right? Because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the men's side and the women's side. So I saw the pacing assignments. 13:10, is that what they're looking at?
Yeah, for the first 3K.
I think you got to go faster than that, though. I think you got to ratchet that down a little bit. I want to see.
I think they're going to run probably sub 13:05.
13:01's the American record. I'd like to see Paul Chalimo go for the American record here. as we reported on this podcast last week, his 400s that he was running after USA's were mighty impressive. Not that there's
It's
a
easier to
calculator.
run 400s at altitude.
That's what they've always said. Not that there's some sort of calculator I can punch in and figure out that his 3K performance plus those maybe 6 400s that he ran were equivalent to any sort of time, but he looks fit. Like, that's not a thing that you do if you're like, I'm just going to run the championship to like fulfill an obligation, then I'm going to move on. Like, no, he's sharp. He's ready. Ches needs a big race.
Yeah.
I think Ches needs a big race. We're 2 years away from his really big indoor campaign where he ran the 349, then the next day,
Won the...
almost as impressively, put Gebrewet way behind him. Like, put him in the rear view mirror.
What's been Chez's last... I mean, what did he do at the...
I mean, outdoors last year, he ran that 13:04,
What did
right?
he do at the Grand Prix? Like the indoors. What was his... Did he
He's
get
got
second?
2 seconds, right? So he got second,
What did he get
and then he got
second
second at Bergen, and then he got second at Campbell
Willie
City.
Fink, yeah.
We ran 3:59 in the mile in
Yeah.
a tactical mile. Like, I think we know he's going for the Kenyan team now.
Yeah.
I mean, extremely, talk about bad luck. The moment he decides he's going to go for the Kenyan team, the World Championships indoors are canceled
Yeah.
because of coronavirus. But setting himself up for outdoors, I think this is an important race for him. And this is, I don't know what type of shape he's in, but this is a venue where you can run faster than your outdoor PR.
Yeah.
That's been proven time and time again. You know, he latches onto Chelimo. Maybe he can run something 13 low. I mean, 13:04 is that PR, right? 13. I had him on here. But yeah, in Houston last year, right? He ran some good marks outdoors last year. The problem is, like, the show kind of goes on without him because
He can't represent his country.
Yeah, so 04 in Houston in 2019. He ran.
Did he win that race?
He did. So at this meet last year, last year, he ran 13:08. And that's his, I think that's like his second, that must be his second best 5K ever, right? Is that word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So, good venue for him. I think he needs to show he can compete with somebody like Paul Chelimo. So I think it's important. It's as important as an indoor race can be,
Yeah.
I think, for one specific person. Do you see it between those two guys? I mean, Kipchirchir's in there as well.
Kipchirchir can hang. Jenkins hasn't shown. I mean, he didn't look good in the.
He needs a
the NAU
qualifier.
5K.
He needs a qualifier. Paul Tanui was good in the opener.
I think the wild card will be Justin Knight.
Yeah.
Because he ran well at Milrose, right? Didn't he? He won. Yeah, he won.
Yeah.
So I think Knight is going to be the one. He's going to. Well, his PRs were 13:09. He's probably looking to smash that PR.
Upgrade on that a little bit.
I would see Justin Knight being the favorite to get second to Chelimo.
Really?
Because
what a difference a year makes. He struggled, remember, last year?
Yeah.
Indoors his first as a pro. Tanui only 8th in that 3K in Milrose, but 13:15 and beat. That was the Tyler Day race.
Tyler Day race.
So he's not. I mean, the primary, they want that standard, right? Jenkins wants to get that standard.
But,
Tanui
like,
wants to get that standard.
But Paul Chelimo, they don't care. Like Paul Chelimo wants a record.
That's what I'm trying to think of. You got to look at what are these guys' motivations for running, and I don't see him going and running 13:12. What's the point of that other than going to the same meet as Lopez Lemon because you can get the memes sent like right away. They're on different days, I realize, so they won't even be in the venue at the same time. The men's 5K is Friday. The men's 3,000, which we assume, we don't know yet, but I'm assuming because Lemon says he's racing in Boston, he's on the 5,000 list. That's on Thursday, and it's paced by Matt Centrowitz. So ships passing in the night, I think.
When are we going to see them race?
Disappointing. Maybe never.
Peyton? No, Chelimo will probably go to a Diamond League.
It makes me think this is all, ducking and dodging. I like it. I mean, I don't like it. I hate it. But it's like, I was thinking about this. Right now, this very moment, February 25th.
49 minutes and 12 seconds into episode 7 of the FloTrack podcast.
Yeah, which you can download on Apple Podcasts. You can watch on the site as well, too. So
Yes.
if you're doing one medium, you can just switch over to the other
You can do
medium.
both of them at the same time.
If you had to pick two people in track and field right now, face off right now, would it be Chelimo and Lopez?
To face off right now?
Right now. You can get any matchup in the track and field world right now. In fact, I'll broaden it. You can have any two people race. So if you want to see Tyreek Hill race somebody, you can get that too. Any two people racing right now.
Ooh, I mean, Tyreek Hill getting smoked by like Noah Lyles or Coleman would be fun for the internet.
Okay, so that's one.
I'm trying to think of like a more exciting. I'm trying to think of an idea that you're not thinking of.
Yeah, but you can't because I literally stayed up last night thinking of every idea.
Well, because you know, it would be cool to see Norman and Lyles again, right? But I guess that's not as like, or Norman or Lyles and Coleman.
Lyles and Coleman, I'll give you that one.
That'll be good. But we're gonna see that. We have seen that.
Right.
But like that, seeing them race though isn't gonna mean much because whether one beats the other, it's like okay, cool.
No, because it's what happens after.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody else has a postscript to the rivalry. These are the only two guys.
But what I'm saying is like Lyles and Coleman racing each other, like it's only gonna have like meaning if they race each other at a championship.
Yeah. Oh, they're talking about
like racing each other at like a Diamond League. You're gonna be like, okay, you know.
Yeah.
Taking Diamond League L's isn't like embarrassing,
right,
in my opinion. But in a championship, I'll have to preface it in a championship style. If we had to create U.S. champs are
right now,
are 20 minutes from now,
or world championships, whatever. Yeah.
Lopez and Schliemann would be fun.
It's really high up on the list because every other person you're like, oh, I'd want to see Brazier run against, well, I don't know, who will be in shape? It's always like a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to see Safan Hassan and Shelby. Okay, I might give that one to you. But it's like, we haven't seen Safan Hassan run for a couple months. The last time she did, she was beating everybody in easy fashion. So it's like, or like Norman versus Van Niekerk. Okay, well, Van Niekerk's still on the Met. Like, that's not it. Like, Miller Weibo and Nasser, I think would be fun just because I want to see if, like, was the Nasser thing a fluke in Doha when she ran that fast. Like, I'll give that one, and I'll say Coleman and Lyles. But I think right now, the most appealing track and field rivalry is between two guys who have barely raced and aren't, like, the best in the world.
I know what I want to see.
And I think that's crazy.
I know what I want to see.
Isn't that crazy? It's a little bit crazy.
I want to see American Distance Project take their two best runners. I want Bowerman Track Club to take their two best runners, distance runners.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to run a 2x2 mile where they run and Lopez and Chelino need to match up, so they need to be the second and fourth leg.
Okay, so Woody Kincaid.
So Woody Kincaid versus Shadrack. They run a mile. They hand a stick off to their teammate. They run a mile. After that mile, Woody Kincaid and Shadrack come back, run leg 3. So it's a way to like kind of simulate 5K strength because you're running a mile, then you know.
Yeah.
And it keeps them close because a 4x mile can get spread out and it's like boring. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Okay. But you're with me here, right?
Yes.
The most.
But how cool would that little match? That would be fun.
Oh, it'd be fun. The most interesting matchup right now in track and field is between two people who aren't the best at their event. Like that's true. That's pretty wild. And again, it's all because of what happens after. Nobody else has a rivalry that we're like logging on to see what the next chapter is about. Like we just watch it on the track and we're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, like when Centro wins or loses to Angles, it's like okay, cool. Yeah, man.
No, like I said, there is going to be a Photoshop lion involved in this, and that's amazing. Go ahead.
Who do you think has more to lose when they match up? Like when they match up eventually at the trials, who has less to afford to lose to the other, based on the talk that they're putting up there?
Yeah.
And like,
I mean,
who can take the L better?
Lamong, he's older.
Yeah.
And also I could see Lamong being like in the post race.
I let him win.
No, just like give him a hug and be like, oh, it's a great rivalry.
Yeah.
It's like fun for the sport and stuff.
Oh, like, if it's the other way around,
yeah,
Schliemann was gonna be pissed.
I think he would double down. I mean, unless your theory is true in that they kind of know what's up here and they're coordinating at least on some level about this and they're on better terms than they lead off. But I think I could see Lopez being like, okay, like remember, 08. Lopez gets fired up. 08, 800-meter trials, the famous dive at the finish line. Like he was super pissed. He wanted to file a protest against Kadavis Robinson. And eventually calms down, and they're like, I think almost by the end of the night they were like on good terms. But he was like immediately after was like really, really angry. Not that this is of the same caliber, but I think he has the ability to kind of turn it turn it off. And also Lopez is like, I think he's comfortable with his career. Like all this other stuff he's doing now is gravy.
Yeah.
Right?
He's already done everything, yeah.
Yeah, he had this great act. I mean, Chilimo needles him about.
Does he have a global medal?
No, and that's what Chilimo keeps needling him about. But I think just because he's older, he's sort of like more set in his ways. I mean, Chilimo as a kid, like, he should be calm.
What about this matchup?
I'm surprised he has as much energy to do this.
What about this matchup? Would you want to watch this? Kipchoge, Rupp.
No. In what? In running?
In
no.
marathon.
I know what.
No pacing.
No. I mean, I'll watch it, of course, but.
You'd get excited for that.
Of course, because I'll watch Kipchoge race anything and it'll be exciting. But, like, no, it's not close.
But, like, Kipchoge can lose one day, right? Is he ever going to lose?
Maybe. That's not to be determined yet, but maybe in theory. But no, I mean, I'm saying heading in, right? Not with any benefit of.
Well, no. How
hindsight.
about we tell Kipchoge?
I'm saying if you had $100 right now, and you had to.
No, hear me out. We tell Kipchoge on Friday at 6 p.m. on February 28th.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to run the U.S. Olympic trials right now. I don't care where you are in your training. I don't know what you did.
He wins easily.
Does he still win it?
Yeah, he was on the track. I saw him on Instagram doing track workouts, and you explained.
Zero preparation.
Yeah.
Just like he has to show up.
He's always.
And
prepared.
he has to run in He has to run in like Skechers, Hoka hybrid,
Dude,
Heelys.
I'm on record as saying he could win in Timberlands. Like, there's no.
He could win in Timberlands.
Yes, all the way up to the mid calf, Kipchoge could win.
That'd actually be cool to watch.
I'm saying if they could pipe in a race right here to this awesome booth, on this monitor, and for the next 20 minutes you could watch anything. Right now, I think most people in the running world would be like, "Get me Chilimo."
What event?
5, yeah. Because I mean, if Lopez is a 10,000 guy, but I mean anything 5 or 10.
5
I
or
think
3.
I think
3?
Is
3 would still be
is
good.
3 fair for Le Mans? I mean, I want it to be fair, so there's no excuses. But I just would love to see them. We want to see them interact. We want to see them in the same place. We haven't seen that before. Lincoln and I were both pretty sure that Shelby's going to break the American record in the 3,000 this weekend.
I think she will too as well.
Okay, 8:33.
Yeah, well, the official entries haven't come out. The deadline was last night at 9 p.m. Eastern. I keep refreshing. Normally the BU coach emails me the entries. So as soon as I get the email, I'm going to put them up. But we'll probably dive deep into the actual fields in the 15s, 3Ks, some of the college kids tomorrow.
Yeah, I just won't be on then. It'll be you and Lincoln, so I just want to make sure I fire my takes off.
Listen
now,
on 1.5.
Shelby, it's what I always do. You guys are great at 1.5. Shelby is going to set it. I put into the IAAF tables.
You mean the World Athletics tables?
No, I'm not calling them that. So a 8:33, which is the American record, is worth 11.98 points. Her 14.34 was worth 12.14. So close. But according to them,
You should change this to indoor.
oh yeah.
Just screwed up the whole thing right there.
Oh, you're right. Shoot.
It's
Okay.
all right. It makes it even easier, basically.
In any event, basically they're saying her 14.34, which she ran last year, so not similar points this season at all. So this is not definitive, but basically saying her 14.34 is worth an 8.28. So she has a little bit of wiggle room there. Kate Grace is listed as a rabbit. Schweizer's going to be in there. Quigley's going to be in there. I think we're going to see one of those all-time things. I think we're going to see Houlihan get it. I think we're going to see Schweizer and Quigley like move into the top 10 or top 5. Schweizer's been like a beast this indoor season. Like, I mean, particularly at Albuquerque. Like, she's stuck with Shelby in that 3,000 for a long time. I mean, you only have to go. Now, granted, it was the 10,000, but she got outkicked by Sharon Laketti 2 years ago in a 10K, and then she won that 5,000 that year. But it was decisive.
Do you think Carissa moves up to the 10?
I asked her about that, and I don't remember what she said. But you can go back and watch the interview.
It's an important thing that.
Yeah, no, I definitely asked
You
because I knew it
remember
was
she
important.
said yes, I guess. Oh, I don't know. Coach just decided.
I mean, they always just say
coach,
Jerry.
Whatever
They
coach
say Jerry,
says.
and then I'm like, okay. No, I think she said she was thinking about it. I remember I asked Chilimo, and he said he'd like to, but his focus is medaling in the 5. To which I interpret as, oh, so you're not running it.
So yeah, I think because his first attempt at the 10K time trial didn't go well for him, so he's kind of like, all right,
I'm good.
I'll do this in the next Olympic cycle.
I think Schweizer. I want to see the U.S. put a good team out in the women's 5 because they've never medaled in that event. That's their Eleanor. That's the one that they can't get. And I think Schweizer could potentially have the tools to get it. She'd need things to go right, obviously, but she can kick, right? But I think the 10, especially if Sifan Hassan's not in it, and the pace doddles, like, what she's doing is very impressive.
I mean, Emily Infeld medaled.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The 10 for some reason.
3-4
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah, the 10 for some reason has just always been an easier path to medal. Go back to Goucher and Flanagan as well, too. Like, 5, they haven't been able to get it right, and that's maybe because the pace is more honest, so then they're running like 14:30, 14:40 pace, and then that
and that's an American record pace for us. So.
Yeah, well, and then the 5,000 has become essentially, well, at least for Shelby, it's like, and maybe for Eleanor Purrier, it's like 1,500-meter finishing school. It's like you get good at the 5, and then you're like, okay, then go down to the 15. Because remember, Shelby was running the 5 before 2018, right? 17, 16, she was running the 5, which is weird because she was running the 800 at Arizona State. So she was just doing everything really well.
She's like the Danny Jones of
Grant Holloway.
Right. Grant Holloway.
All right. Well, that's it. That's a show. I'm interested in listening to you and Lincoln talk about this.
This is my last time talking to you before the trials.
Yeah. What do you want me to get? What do you want me to get?
If you listen to the pod with Lincoln, he tried his best to come up with prop bets.
They were terrible. I explained to him that's not how prop bets work.
Yeah.
Do
I have an over-under.
Over-under? Yeah.
That it's kind of something interesting. And I want to know what it is. Over-under, the person who starts the gun, fires a gun, or like is the starter, the honorary starter of the race, their marathon PR, the over-under is set for 2:20.
How fast can Matt Ryan run a marathon?
Who?
Matt Ryan. How fast is he at the marathon?
Who's Matt Ryan?
Falcons quarterback?
You think he's going to...
Trey Young, has he ever run a marathon before?
So the main thing is, like, is it going to be a male or a female? Like, is it going to be like a Meb? Or is it going to be...
Could be ludicrous. There's a lot of Atlanta figures.
Is it going to be a male or female? And then if it's... or a male who's not a runner, is basically... So if it's going to be a former marathoner...
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a marathoner, right? Like, it could be like a legendary marathoner, right? Like... it could be Ryan Hall. It could be Meb. It could be...
No, it's going to be Atlanta. Maybe it'll harken back. I think it'll harken back to Atlanta Olympics. I think we'll have to go to 96. Okay. Might find somebody from there.
But the main thing is it's male or female, right? That's where the line comes from.
Yeah.
If it's a female, they'll have at least run a marathon that's over, right?
I'm going over because you get the female, but they also get the chance that it's not somebody involved with the marathon at all, which there could be. It could be some sort of Atlanta cultural figure.
Yeah.
Like Matt Ryan. Like
he's going to be Matt Ryan.
Outcast.
Trey Young.
Could be Big Boy. Could be Andre 3000. I mean, 3000 is in his name.
What has to do with marathon?
Well, it's distance running.
3K.
He should be
Andre 3K.
He's Andre 3K. Some people call it 3K. Some people call it 3000. It's very
but that's...
over. I'm going over.
You're going over?
Yeah.
I'll take the under.
Here's what's wrong with Lincoln's prop bets.
Because I think it's going to be a male.
All of Lincoln's prop bets were, will this happen? Yes or no? And a lot of them were like way over 50. Will they talk about the vapor flies? Gee, I don't know. Lincoln, yeah, they're going to talk about vapor flies. What he needed to do is either set an over-under line or it should have been first person to.
Yeah.
Right? Who's the first person who's going to mention this on the broadcast, at the broadcast team? Or who's going to be leading after a mile?
Or like over-under number of hats.
Yes.
That Galen Rupp wears.
Yeah. I kind of feel like as a podcast team, we missed an opportunity because we can't use that title again. And the end result was just like...
Well, you can use the title again.
Yeah.
Just say like...
A better version 2.0.
Prop bets, but this time that are good.
Well, the thing, he said, I don't understand betting odds. Like, you don't need to understand betting odds to just say... Because when they do NFL prop bets, right, it's how long is the national anthem, right? So you could have been like, how big is the margin of victory?
Yeah.
Who's going to score the first touchdown in the Super Bowl? Okay, well, who's going to be
leading at the mile?
Yeah, or at the half marathon. Like, those are actually interesting. I might do a post on this. I might have to just actually do prop bets. My banner image is going to be Lincoln's face.
I don't know, but I think it's going to be the under. I think the marathon PR of the shoot.
Because you think it's going to be
starter.
It needs to be Meb.
I think it's going to be Meb. Yeah,
I don't think it can be Ryan Hall because Sarah's racing.
That's true.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So.
Because he'll like fire it, he'll have like a cadence that him and Sarah study. This is what I'm going to do. Everyone's going to think it's going to be on here. We're going to false start everyone. And then you just
zig and zag, yeah. Raise your hand, get some DQs. All right. That's it. That's the show. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Gordon will be back tomorrow with his APSE award in tow. We'll talk to you guys then.